Hi, and welcome back to Should Have Filmed That. My name is Yale, and today I'm looking at this drone and how I'm going to store it. So this is a new hobby of mine. I made this purchase a few weeks ago, and I've been playing with this little drone. It's a DJI Neo 2, and it's probably one of the smallest drones that they do. And it's quite robust, but still fragile at the same time. So the first thing that I did was went onto the internet and got this and sent some files towards the 3D printer. And this makes a nice little travel case for the drone. And that keeps it protected when I put it in my bag and stuff like that. But this little drone can be flown in many different ways. I can fly it just with hand gestures. I can fly it with the phone. And I can also fly it with the DJI controller, like this one here. I can also fly it with the FPV headset and the little joystick. And then there's multiple accessories that go along with it. So there's the power storage charging bank thingy mabob. There's a little bag of accessories and spares. And there's also the DJI mic set. So these are all the things that make the set complete. However, I might not use them all at the same time. For example, if I want to do FPV, I only need this bit. If I just want to go out and, vlog, all I need is this bit. Or I might want these two. So it's not necessarily being used all at the same time. And I want a flexible storage solution that I can store it all, but then I can take bits out and just travel with just those bits if I need to. So I have this old flight case. I'd like to repurpose that and upcycle it. So I think there's enough storage space in here. So this does have some foam already inside, and I have played around with the layout. So I think something along the lines of that is a sensible layout. I can pretty much fit it all in there, and it seems fairly logical to me. But if I say, I'm just going to take this out, at the moment, all of this can just rattle around the case and could get damaged and stuff like that. So, for it to be safe to travel with, I don't want to have everything in the case, and I want to be able to take bits out the case and not worry about. So, to cut a long story short, we're going to make a custom insert for this flight case for all of this stuff so that it can be stored safely and travel without having to worry about it all moving around in the box. So, how I'm going to make this custom insert? Well, I have this stack of cardboard. So rather than going straight in the recycling, we are going to upcycle this cardboard, and we're going to use the laser to turn all of that into a custom insert that will make all of this nice, neat, tidy, and safe for travel. So I can't just take the cardboard and fire the laser at it, right? I've got to come up with exactly what I'm going to cut out of the cardboard. And to know exactly what I need to cut out, I need to measure what I'm going to cut out. Now, there are certain things in here that, these I have 3D models for. I have the 3D files for this, and I have a 3D scan of the controller. So I don't need to measure these. I already have these in a digital format. These two are fairly straightforward. They're simple shapes. So I can measure on here. So, 40 mil, a little bit of movement, 45 mil by 100 mil, and then the height, 60 mil. Right, so that's simple to do. That's just a standard shape. This is a bit more of a complex shape, but again, I just want an insert that I can just drop that into. So, you know, 130 mil by 90 mil by 30 mil, 35 mil. So, and again, another easy shape, it's just a box. The bag, again, easy enough to do. Just the measurement, so 180 mil, 16 mil at the bottom. There's the widest point, 60 mil. Okay. The complex ones are these two. So I have the piece of paper here, and I wasn't able to find any 3D scans of this online, but again, the shape doesn't, it just needs to be an insert, right? So we're only worried about the top-down view. So I figured the easiest thing to do for this is to take the paper, take a pencil, try to keep the pencil up at a 90-degree angle. And trace around it. Okay, so we've got our rough trace there. Let's just make some of these lines more bold. So there's our rough shape there, and we can put a couple of lines across here for reference, so we can draw some measurements off of these. So by breaking it down into this grid, we can then measure these points and build that digitally. We can do something similar for the controller. So with the controller, we probably want to tackle multiple angles here, multiple planes even. So trace around that. Okay. So I'd probably break this down into a cylinder, and that cylinder could be the same sort of there, and we have a sphere. So there are all the components. One last thing to measure is the case itself. Let's just put all these out of the way. So the case itself, so we've got these little, it's not perfectly square in the corners, there's these little diagonal cutouts, and we're looking, so want it to be comfortable, so 445 mil by 308 mil, and then these little diagonals, I'm going to say the hypotenuse of that triangle there is 17 mil. So we need to calculate that and cut that out. Okay, so now that we've got all of these measurements, and we know all the dimensions of everything that we need to fit in here, now we can go to the computer and model this cutout. So I'll see you there. Okay, over at the computer, I've loaded up a couple of different tools here. So this one we're looking at the moment is FreeCAD, and this is exactly what it says. It's a FreeCAD tool, and this is very, very complex, right? What you can do in here is basically everything, and you need an engineering degree just to understand how to use this GUI. So I'm not going to start off in here, but I just wanted to show that there are many options. And to jump straight into a CAD tool like this is quite difficult. There's a lot of concepts to understand. So where I started off was with this tool, Tinkercad. I think it's designed to get children into it, but I like it. It's very simple. So as you can see, I may have already had a go of doing this, but we're going to start one fresh, so you can see how I got there. So tinkercad.com, create 3D design. So the first thing I want to do is start off by making the actual insert that we're then going to cut shapes out of. So what is the volume of the box? So first of all, I'm going to grab a box, drop that onto here, and we said the internal volume was 445 millimeters. Zoom out by 308. Oops, 308 millimeters. Zoom out some more, and we had a height of, I think, 60. Right, we needed to cut off these corners here. So the way that I'm going to figure that out is first of all, we're going to create a small box here. Let's make this very tall. And we said that hypotenuse was 17. So using triangle calculator, so 90, hypotenuse close enough to 17, and that's going to give me two sides of 12 millimeters. So that should work out fine. So I want a box with 12 millimeter sides. Okay. Then I want another box here, and I want that to have a side of 17, and let's make this shorter again. I'll make this one taller. So I want to rotate this 45 degrees, and then I can use this tool up here to snap that there and snap that there. So if I zoom in now, I have this whole layer box overlaid at a 45 degree intersecting that hypotenuse there. So I can combine these two shapes by using the combine up here, the union group. So let's do that. And that will essentially remove anything that had the hole from this shape here. No, I've done that wrong. I wanted the bundle. Oh, that's right. Yeah, there we go. Not entirely sure what I was doing wrong there, but okay, there we go. So now we've got the thing that we want to cut at the corners, and we're going to need 4 corners. So we press Control D and then arrow to move that out, and then if we keep on doing Control D, it will use that same spacing as before and break that out. So let's rotate this 90, let's rotate this one 180, and reverse this one 90. So there's our 4 corners, and I will turn them all into holes by clicking here. And as long as these are all taller than 60 mil, we can now go back to our bigger shape up here, and by clicking Shift and I can select two shapes at the same time. Now this one wants to be up here in the right, so we click the alignment tool, and then I click the box that I want to align to, and we'll go to the right hand side and then the top. And now I'll do that again. Just do that 3 more times. So this one is over here at the top, and this one is going to be over here and at the bottom, and the final one. Okay, so we can see that all of those corners are now in place. So let's highlight that and union them. So there we go. That's the block of cardboard that we want to create. Now we want to create all our other shapes. Now we want to create all our other shapes to sink into this block and cut away from. So just like we did creating this box here, we can create our other shapes. So let's use a different color for these. So let's first of all say for the DJI headphone set, right? So rather than using them on changing the measurements on this menu here, I'm going to change the measurements up here because I also want to make use of this radius. So our height was 60, our width was 45. No, our width was 100, and our length was 45. And I didn't measure on camera, but the radius was about 6 millimeters. Okay, so you can see by selecting that radius, we've now got these curved corners on everything. Now, the curves are only on the sides. They're not on the top and bottom where this tool is automatically added on there. So I want to remove them. So I can do that by creating a hole. Control D to duplicate that. Use this little cone here to pull it up. And then I can highlight them and join them together. So that gives me this shape, and then I can reset the height back to 60. So there's our first cutaway. So that can now go into our cutaway there. So again, the next shape, start off with a cube. I'm going to change the color so it's easier to spot. And this is for the battery bank. And the battery bank was 130 by 30 and 100 high. Actually, I don't think it was 100 high. I think it was like 80. But yeah, there you go. That'll do. Okay, so some of our more complex shapes. So the most complex shape that we probably have to do is the headset. Now I drew a tracing around that, and then I drew a grid, and I've got some rough measurements. Now all of these measurements I'm going to add a little bit to, just to give us a bit of play. But essentially how I built this was I took a cylinder. So the simple thing with Tinkercad and any like 3D CAD stuff is about taking basic shapes and then positioning them in a way that you can combine them to make a complex shape, or even take basic shapes to remove from other shapes, right? So essentially that's what we'll be doing here. We're creating these shapes to remove them from this main shape, and that will create our insert. To create the cutout for the headset, we're just going to take a load of simple shapes and put them together. And that simple shape is going to be mainly in the form of cylinders, right? So, so first of all, I want a 50 by 50 cylinder. And you know what? I'm going to want another one of them. And we've got 150. So of the top part of it was 150. Let's do one. So the top part of it was 150. So let's do that. So 150. And then we had about 30 mil, so that means that this will be 60. So that gives us the very top part of our headset. Then from so that's another 40 mil. So I'm going to duplicate this, and from the top to the bottom here, we're looking at 130. So now we're going to say 130 by 60. So that's going to give us that sort of shape there. So see how this is slowly building up. So that's about there. This shape needs to be a little bit elongated. Actually, this needs to be more like that. And this needs to be elongated. And then we need one more circle in the middle, which is going to be 100 by 100. Okay, so that's our basic shape. So I can take all of that, I can create that as a union. I can then Control D to duplicate it, and then give me the mirror image of it. All right, and then I can basically move this one out until we line up. So I can actually use the alignment tool here, right? So if I click the alignment tool, I'll put these both at the top. Now this does need to become wider, right? So let's just keep on going. So from the diagram, our widest point was 200 mil, so we can select the whole thing and see where we're at. So 185, so we need to go wider. A little bit wider. So I need to redo this bit here. That goes there. And that's how we made that shape. So now we can combine all of this together. Turn this to green. And turn it into a hole. So that's our headset bit ready to cut out. Not sure why we've got that orange line there. Worry about that later. So our final way of creating a cutout is to import models that we've already got. So over here in the top right hand corner, I can import. So first of all, let's do the controller. Okay, so we've managed to import our 3D scan of a controller. So we can now, let's rotate this into a better orientation. Yeah, that's about as flat and as square as I can get it. Let's go change it to the same green as we've got everything else. And then we can just wire this down. And then we can position this on our insert as well. So we'll have to add some additional shapes here. So because I want this sunk down a bit more, and as you can see, as we sink it in, we'll only actually cut away what the shape is. So we'll need to expand this shape up above, so it also cuts out everything above it as well. But we do that exactly the same way. We'll just create some basic shapes that stick up and out that match the rough profile here, and then combine it to this you make a union with this object, so it'll cut it all out as well. The final piece to import. So let's import. So we'll put this in. So you can just see here, millimeters. So okay, here we go. Same again. Change the orientation. Let's make it same green as everything else. I mean, we need to import the lid here, and we need to flip it over so I've got my DJI logo facing up, and then we can grab this little cone and just sink that in. So that's roughly how I created the insert, or about to create the insert. So I'm going to switch back to the one that I prepared earlier. So there we go. And what you can see here is I've added those shapes and expanded this up, so it's going to give us the correct cutout. And the other thing I've done is I've moved the headset block down here and created the one for the pouch up here, and we've got the controller, which is two cylinders and a sphere, and I've also added these blocks in here so that I can add some additional storage for maybe some wires or something underneath, and it still keeps it nice and clean and tidy and out of the way. So what we need to do now is we need to highlight all of these green blocks. Oops. And turn them into holes. And now that they're holes, we then select everything, make one final union. And there we go. So now we've got our final piece that we're going to cut out. Now there's this bit here, ignore that. That will be fine. It just means we're going to have an extra pass on the laser. But this bit here will just come away. You can see the actual edge that we want there. Okay, now we've got our cutout properly. Now, this is a 3D object, and the laser does not do 3D well, so we need to break this down into many 2D layers. So the idea is that we build this shape up by many layers of cardboard. So we'll cut the layers of the cardboard out, and then we'll glue them together to build up this 3D object. But I need to break this down into layers. And how we do that is, we can see here, we got the actual work plane. So this is our 0Z height. And what we're going to do is, if I line that up here, so our first layer is there. So we can see that is just intersecting. I mean, the other way of doing this is if I press highlight the object and press D, that puts it perfectly onto the work plane, and then I can grab the cone and just drop that down 1 millimeter. All right, and that's my first layer. So I can go to export. I want to select for laser cutting SVG, which is going to give me a 2D object. If I wanted to 3D print this or for 3D, that'd be here, but SVG. Then I'm going to open Lightburn, and I'm going to File, Import, and we'll import the flight case. So there we go. There is the first layer. And then we'll put that in this laser and cut that out. And what we're going to do is go each time. So what we do now is we roughly know that each piece of cardboard is roughly 5mm. So I'll drop this down 5mm, export again, that'll be the next laser, and keep on going all the way until we're at the very top layer here. So that'll be our very top layer, and we'd export that again, and then laser cut that. So I'm going to save all these files, stick them onto the laptop, and go to the shed. So in the shed, laser set up, ready to go. We've got our first piece of cardboard in there. We've got the focus set up correctly. We'll have to keep on setting the focus as the thickness in cardboard varies. So we'll need to keep on altering the Z-axis. So we've got the first layer imported into Lightburn. The speed is 45, the power is 70. I've already done the frame test, so we're going to close the lid on the laser and click go. And then I'll just make a time lapse. Oh, that's just scary. And then we'll make a quick time lapse of all the other layers, because it's just going to be rinse and repeat. Laser armed, and go. Right, time for sort of final assembly. So everything is over there from the laser cutter, and I'm going to use the case itself as the jig to sort of hold everything in place while I glue it together. So I don't get glue in the case, I shall line the inside with this plastic bag. The glue I'm going to use is, I just have some PVA. Okay, so now we can take these, but I want to flip them over, so I'm starting at the bottom. The first piece can go in. First piece is in. And we'll just glue up. Going to leave it in there a few minutes, then I'm going to lift it out so it can dry properly and hopefully detach the plastic bag. And then we can see whether it's going to work. So just going to pull it out, and hopefully it will all stay in one piece. Okay, so I'll go put this somewhere where it can dry. So it's been sitting on the radiator for a few hours and it's looking pretty dry. So we will test fit everything now. So fits into the case well. So that's looking pretty sweet to me. Does the lid close? So we've just got a bit of spring in the sponge at the top there, which is brilliant. Keeps everything, going to keep everything in place. So the final thing now is just to make it that last finishing touch. So I've found a miscellaneous can of some blue Suzuki spray paint. So take it outside and give it a little paint just to give it a finishing touch that doesn't look like it's just cardboard. Okay, so just got this strung up outside and just going to give it a quick blast with some spray paint. Alright, it's got a fairly healthy coat on it. So just going to leave that hang here to dry and then, yeah, put it back in the case and we're done. So brought it in from outside. There's a few damp spots on it, but it's mainly dry. With it, with the glue drying, it's actually shrunk a tiny bit, so it's a bit easier to get in and out, which is fine. And let's see whether everything fits. That's all good. Battery pack. Little bag of gubbins. Joystick. Headset. And finally, the controller. So, yeah. I think that looks much better, and I'm much happier now that it's going to be, I know it's going to be safe when traveling around, and I can just take out the bits that I want and know that it's not going to rattle around in the box. If you noticed that maybe you saw this come out the laser, so it was my intention that I'd go for a slightly more premium finish on the top layer. Yeah, this has got like a foam core, and the laser had the laser way too powerful for it. So the first piece caught fire, and the second piece I still had the laser too high, and it sort of like melted in there. And it wasn't really needed anyway. I mean, this basically comes to the almost perfect height for the case anyway, so that worked out great. So yeah, if you like these sorts of projects, you know, and enjoyed this video, you might like one of these videos here, and consider liking and subscribing, and tune in next time for the next project. Cheers, bye now.